Let's talk to color. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to color. Ooh.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here in the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler YouTube channel, the Let's Talk to Cutler virtual book club, the Let's Talk to Cutler vlog. It's Cutler here on this platform at this moment. And I'm thankful that you all are joining me. I'm so glad to have you all coming along and helping me do what I do. And what is it that I do? I try to inspire, I try to motivate, I try to encourage people, and I try to challenge us to show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. I try to get us to examine ourselves to make sure that we have shown up better today than we did yesterday. I'm not even looking at yesterday or today as a failure or flop at all, but I'm thankful for the moments. I'm thankful for the present. I'm thankful to be here and now. I'm thankful for the awareness of who I am. I'm thankful for the opportunity to participate in humanity. I'm thankful for being a part of this thing that we call creation. I'm just glad about today. I hope that you are as well. So I'm sending out positive vibes. And as the young folk would say, I'm sending positive vibes, and I'm expressing positivity and optimism. I'm doing all that today, and I'm just glad to be alive. I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad to have friends and family and sisters and brothers and connectivity. I'm so glad about that. I hope you are as well. This channel really is about that kind of thing. We hear enough bad news every single day. There's enough bad news on so many social media outlets and in the news and everywhere else. So we take a brief respite and a brief reprieve and take about 1,800 seconds to share some positivity. And that's what I'm doing here. So if people are wondering, what is that guy talking about? What is that guy doing? That's what he's doing. He's talking about things that are inspirational, motivational, and things that challenge us to show up better. I always want to show up my best self, even in the worst of situations. You all have heard me say things like that. And it doesn't matter what happens in life. Life goes on, and so do we. And as I said before, I think I said it the last time we were on, that I'm thankful for the opportunity to forge a new path. For me, that is going to be my mantra. It is about preparing for the challenges. It is about preparing for the disappointments. It is about preparing for the sadness. It is about preparing for those moments that are not going to be the brightest. It is about preparing for those moments that come to sort of knock me, but don't knock me down. They cause me to just sort of wave from side to side. And for all of those moments that I'm preparing because I know that I'm going to have peaks and valleys and ups and downs and ins and outs and roundabouts and all those sorts of things. One of the things that I wanted us to take away from, I know I'm just going, I haven't even really stopped to say hi to anybody, but one of the things that I'm going to do for myself, you all, is to set a mantra so that I'm prepared. I'm not disillusioned that every day is going to be a wonderful day, a beautiful day of howdy, and just not, that's not going to happen. I'm looking forward for the best, but I'm also anticipating that some moments will come. Life has moments, and I don't want us to be disappointed. Life has moments. And so one of the things that we can always do is, while we are on guard and while we are up and while we are energized, make sure that you develop a mantra for your life, a mantra so that when those challenging times come, you will always have what I call a fallback thing, a fallback message to yourself. Ain't nobody got to give you a message in those moments, but when you're having these wonderful moments like we're having now, develop a mantra for your life, a mantra. And like me, I invite you all to just take mine and do what you want to do with it, because I think the last time I talked, I said that for me this year, as I extend myself grace and I extend the opportunity to live in grace and to love myself, one of the things that I'm going to do is to have a mantra that says, I'm thankful. So when the hardships come, I will already be prepared to speak to the hardships and the disappointments and the doubts and the sadness and all of those things. I'll be able to speak to them and say, I'm thankful for the opportunity to forge a new path. Doubt, you thought you were going to get me down. Disappointment, you thought you were going to get me down. Anxiety, you thought you were going to get me down. But guess what? You're not going to get me down, because the only thing you're providing me is an opportunity to forge a new path. Listen, if this is your first time stopping by, I just put my face right in the camera, didn't I? If this is your first time stopping by, or you've invited somebody to come and chat with us, and you've never done this before, please go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe, and then click on the notification bell so you'll know exactly when I show up live or whenever I have uploaded new content. I'm so thankful to see all of you all. I'm going to continue our conversation, the one that we started last time we were here, because it's a part of what I call just my New Year conversation that I wanted to have with us. And it's about how to move beyond the past, how to let some things go, because I know that some of us are making resolutions. I actually said on one social media platform of mine that I'm not making an annual resolution. But what I'm going to do is involve myself in daily meditation. So it just will not be an annual lofty thing, but there are daily goals that I'm going to work on. I want to say hi to the first three people who jumped in. I call you all my LTTC VIPs, and I just want to shout you all out. That's Annie Cutler, who says, "Get aboard, let's ride." Queen Nita, my friend, it's good to see you, who says, "Good evening, everyone." Marissa, my friend, it's good to see you as well, who says, "Hello, everyone." It's so good to see everybody. But let's go ahead and continue our conversation. But again, you all, if you haven't done so, go ahead and do a thumbs up on the conversation. But again, let's develop a mantra for our lives so that we are not caught off guard, so that we are really prepared, because most of us have lived long enough to know that trouble comes, and trouble does not discriminate. It knocks on anybody's door. And sometimes when you think that you're over trouble, trouble will come again. Trouble will visit your space, your area, uninvited. And trouble, heartaches, and hardships will visit your space. It just does not make one visit and say, "Hey, that's the quota, I'm done." It's it almost sometimes feels like um, it's just random. That's the word. It's just random. You never know when it's going to come. Sometimes we plan for it and we see things and we prepare for some of them, but many times trouble come and problems come, trouble comes and problems come, and they are random. They catch us off guard. But that's why when we're having this happy moment, I want us to develop a theme for our life, a fallback. Even if you have to post it somewhere that says, "You know what? I got it. This thing thought it was going to get me down, but I didn't want it to come, but I'm ready for it." And what I see it as is an opportunity to forge a new path, as an opportunity to forge a new path. Tracy, absolutely. Sometimes the way it comes so random, trouble comes so randomly and so repeatedly until it makes you feel like you're a target. And we call it relentless. It just doesn't give up. A lot of times we hear people say, "Wow, can a brother catch a break? Can a sister catch a break?" I mean, it just keeps coming so furiously and so repeatedly, makes you feel like a target. And I want us to guard ourselves. I want us to gird up so that we are ready for life when it happens this year, because life is happening. So I want to continue our conversation, the one where we talked about how to move beyond the past, because there's some things that we can release, some things that we can turn loose, some things we can let go of, and there's some things that we have not released that we need to let go. Some things as we go into the new year, and I'll mention them very quickly and keep on going. Please do a thumbs up on the conversation if you haven't. But there's some things that we need to release and let go, and I mentioned those the last time we talked, like comparing yourself to other people. Let that go. Pushing yourself beyond your limits, let that go. And that's subjective to you. Overthinking things that are really simple and getting stuck and paralyzed in trying to analyze what's going on. So let overthinking go. Let self-doubting go. Let saying yes to everything and everybody go. Let not striking a balance between work and life. Let those things go. And we talked about it. How do I release some of this stuff, Cutler? How do I let some of this stuff go? One of the things that I said we should do is learn to have a positive fallback message. That's why I came onto our broadcast this evening, reminding us to develop a fallback message. And then one of the things that I'm going to take off, and I want us to do, you all, I'll give these helpful hints, and you all tell me if you like these. Tell me if you find them helpful, if you think that they are empowering. That's what I want. I want to have a conversation these next few days that are really conversations that are empowering. As we're learning to move beyond the past and let things go, not only have a positive fallback message, but here's one of the things that it's not always the easiest, but when you can do this, when it is feasible for you to do it, put some physical distance between you and the thing that you're trying to move beyond. Put some space, some real space between you and the thing or the things or the people that you are trying to move beyond or get beyond. We've all heard the saying, out of sight, out of mind. I think most of us have heard the saying, and that has a lot of merit to it. It has a lot of truth to it. Out of sight, out of mind. You don't think about it. You don't focus on it. You don't concentrate on it. But sometimes what do? We don't want to be out of sight, and we can't be out of sight. I recognize and I respect that. Sometimes we just don't want to be, but other times we can't be out of sight. But I've lived long enough and I've seen experiences where people sometimes just put themselves in harm's way. I've done it before. May I just be honest and transparent and truthful? Sometimes we put ourselves in harm's way. But I challenge us as we're having this conversation. I challenge us, I admonish us, I encourage us to put some distance between you and whatever you're trying to move beyond. Put some distance between you and whomever you're trying to move beyond. Some of the hardest things about moving beyond can be familiarity and proximity. That's a challenge. Some of the most difficult things about trying to just step out and keep going and moving beyond, those two things are familiarity and proximity. Why would I say that? Because we cling to what's familiar. We cling to what's comfortable. But if you're going to move beyond, here's one of the things we need to learn: to exercise the options that are available. And if putting distance between you and that thing or those things or that person or those people, if putting distance is feasible, we need to do it when it's feasible. Why would I say that? Why would I encourage that? Because you will find when there's distance between you and that thing that you're trying to move beyond, you will find that when you put distance there, you don't think about it as much. You don't process it as much. You're not reminded of it as much. Whatever that it might be, you don't think about it, you don't focus on it, and you don't process it as much when there's space between you and it. Tell me if that's helping anybody. Tell me if that makes sense to anybody to put distance, because out of sight, again, out of mind. What else would I recommend in terms of, we're just having these conversations about, and I'm offering these helpful hints. And I will say this: some of these I've read in literature, some of these I've lived and experienced. And so I'm giving you a combination of those things this evening. Here's one of the things that will also help you all. You know, we are really big, as we've spoken over the years on this platform, as we've shared, and I say we because you've shared with me. So in our in the dynamics of our conversation, you all know that I'm given to self-care and self-love. And one of the things that I want you to do going into 2023, let's just start right now, is to give yourself permission to focus on you. You've helped enough people. I'm not saying stop helping people, but one of the things that we have to do, you all, and some of you have asked me before, or shared before, that you are caregivers. And one of the things that I want us to learn how to balance is giving yourself permission to focus on you. I'm not saying ignore your responsibilities, ignore the thing that you love to do, the things that you feel committed to do. But in the midst of that, in addition to that, make sure you give yourself permission to focus on you. Give yourself permission to focus on you. Focusing on you is important. You've got to focus on yourself. It's important. You have to make the choice to focus on you. You have to deal with all that you experience. And if we're talking about moving beyond and putting ourselves on the path to get into a space that's called better, if we're going to do that, we have to make the choice, sometimes the difficult choices, to address the hurt, to address the pain, to address the sadness, and to address the disappointment that we experience. Give yourself permission to focus on you. I'm giving myself permission to focus on the hurt, the sadness, the disappointment, the pain. I'm giving myself permission to focus on all of that. Because when you think about a person who has caused you pain, one of the things you need to do is bring yourself back into the present. A lot of times we think about the things or the people, the circumstances, or the situations that caused us pain. But as soon as you think about that, learn how to bring yourself back into the present. And may I deal with the present and the past for just a moment? It's okay to remember the past. It is okay. But what we have got to learn to do is to not dwell in the past. I'll be honest, I go into the past all the time. I love to reminisce. I love to be nostalgic. I do all of that. But when it comes to me giving myself permission to focus on me, when it comes to me being powerful enough, empowering myself to move beyond and to get over things, when it comes to me addressing some of the hurt and all of those sorts of things, it's okay to remember the past, but I don't dwell in it. What Cutler, what do you do? I'll tell you what I do. I go to the past in moments like that, just long enough to heal what I call the me from yesterday. Let's let that marinate for a moment. Unless you're being nostalgic and you're remembering the past, unless you're just reflecting and having wonderful, blissful thoughts about the past, it's okay to dwell there for a moment. But whenever you're going to the past and you're looking at past hurt and disappointment and anxiety, bring yourself back to the present as quickly as you can. Stay in the past long enough to heal what I call the me from yesterday. Cutler, what does that mean? Why is that important? Because you don't want to dwell in the thing that caused you anxiety yesterday. You want to recognize that, oh, yesterday this thing caused me hurt. Yesterday this thing caused me grief. Now let me bring it into the present and give myself permission to focus on me. I was there long enough to acknowledge, there long enough to see the root cause of it, there long enough to see how it impacted me, there long enough to see how it affected me. So I was there long enough to heal the me from yesterday. Because if I don't heal the me, you all, I'm going somewhere with this, because if I don't heal the me from yesterday, I'll show up broken again today and tomorrow. And I'll keep showing up broken. So I'll go into the past long enough to heal the me from yesterday so that I'm not broken today and I'm not broken tomorrow. And can I tell you, I just need to put in the plug here. I just need to put in the word. That's why therapy is good. I am an advocate. I am a proponent of therapy because some of us don't know how to go into the past to try to heal the me from yesterday. We get there and we experience that hurt and all of that stuff all over again. And we stay there and we find ourselves in these dark moments and in these dark situations. Yes, I'm looking there like as if it is the past. That's just me being demonstrative. But we go there and we stay there and we revisit those things that hurt us. We revisit those things that disappointed us. We revisit those things that took us to a dark space. And we end up staying there. And we don't necessarily know how to heal the me from yesterday. But again, that's why therapy is good. I'm a proponent of it. I'm an advocate of it. Anybody who asks me, do you think I should go to therapy? Do you think therapy is a good thing? Absolutely, therapy is a good thing. But one of the things I'm thankful that I've learned to do, and this for me has come with the wisdom of age, the wisdom of years. It has come with a lot of bumps and bruises and walking myself through this process. I've learned how to visit the past, but then come right back to the present. And when I come back to the present, I focus on the things that I am thankful for. That's what I do. That was past disappointment. Cutler, now bring yourself back to a space where you're thankful for the things, where you focus on the things that you're grateful for. Because I was reading somewhere and I made a note of this quote that says, when we start practicing being present, our hurts have less control over us, and we have more freedom to choose how we want to respond to our lives. I need to find, I need to be able to find the source of that quote so I can give that person credit. But listen to the quote, you all. When we start practicing being present, our hurts have less control over us, because most of the time when we are considering hurts and disappointments and anxieties, we're looking in the past. But if I practice being present, then what hurt me yesterday does not have as much control over me today. And it will have less control over me tomorrow. And so now notice we have these two principles taking place. And because even though I'm not distancing myself geographically, I'm distancing myself in terms of time and chronology and space. And so now as I put more distance between me and it has less power over me. And I am more absent from it than I am present in it. This is how we move beyond the past. We've got to be intentional about doing this thing. And as we are intentional about doing this, you all, again, you remember one of the last conversations that we had at the end of last year. I said that a part of my underlying theme for this year would be grace. So one of the things that we need to do is give ourselves grace. Extend ourselves grace. So why would you say that, Cutler? Because the next thing that I'm going to recommend in terms of enabling ourselves to move beyond the past is to make sure that you be gentle with yourself. Marissa, yes, we have to take care of our emotional and mental health. It is true. In 2022, some of us in 2020, 21, 22, we went through so many things and we were just robotic about it. We were just in automatic drive. We were just functioning, doing things. And some of us didn't take the time to slow down. But I caution us, you all, take the time to slow down. And yes, Marissa, I agree with you. Make sure that we take care of our emotional and mental health. And as you're doing that, again, make sure that you are gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. We can be so hard, you all, I may just end the broadcast here. We can be so hard on ourselves. And I want to remind us, if your first response to not being able to let go of a painful situation is to criticize yourself, it's time to show yourself some kindness and compassion. Because we will beat ourselves up. I can't let it go. This painful situation. So then we start criticizing ourselves. What's wrong with me? Why can't I let it go? No, 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 no. Rewind and undo. Rewind and undo. If your first response of not being able to release it, if your first response of not being able to let it go, if your first response of not being able to get through or over a painful situation is to criticize yourself, you need to give yourself permission to show kindness and compassion to you. Self-care, self-love. Be gentle with yourself. Because I may have said it before, we treat others so wonderfully and so gently and generously and graciously. Being gentle with yourself is the same way. It looks like treating ourselves like we would treat a friend, offering ourselves self-compassion and avoiding comparisons between our journey and those of others. That's a part of self-care. That's a part of being gracious with yourself. Making sure that you stop comparing your journey with other people's journey. Why would I say that, you all? Because again, pain and hurt and disappointment and problems, those things are inevitable. They will show up. And we may not be able to avoid them, but we can choose to treat ourselves kindly. We can choose to treat ourselves lovingly whenever they do show up. And we'll say to ourselves, you know what? You're going to show up. You're going to come. You're going to knock on my door again. But guess what? I'm going to give myself permission to be gentle with myself. Let me keep going, you all, because one of the things that I wanted to do is to make sure, and again, this is about learning how, you're practicing how to move beyond the past, because there are some things a lot of us, if we're just honest, there's some things that we just want to leave in the past. Some stuff we just want to leave in the past and we don't know how to do it. How do I get over this? How do I move beyond? How do I get through? How do I forge a path? That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how to get beyond, how to move beyond, how to forge a path. That's what we're talking about. So one of the things that I think I definitely want to get across to us is that we should allow negative emotions to flow. We are sometimes taught to bottle this stuff up, don't show it, hang on to it. The other day, I was having a moment. It was an emotional moment. And have you ever had an emotional moment? have, have you ever had an emotional moment and you were trying to talk during your emotional moment And while you were trying to talk during your emotional moment, your throat started hurting right there because you realized you were trying to talk and you were having this emotional moment and everything got stuck right here. And you realized it was just a little painful. And you said, if I would just stop, oh, if I would just breathe, it would be okay. If I would just let this moment flow, it would be okay. So one of the powerful experiences that I had was realizing that we need to allow negative emotions to flow. I need to work with this for a moment. Allow negative emotions to flow. I grew up on the ocean. I grew up on the East Coast, and it was not it was not uncommon for me to find myself in the ocean or in a river or in a creek. And so for those of you who have been in the ocean or in a lake or in a river or in a creek, have you ever stood in the water and tried to stop a wave that was coming your way? It's fruitless. It's pointless to try and stop a whole big wave that's coming your way. And so now let's talk about allowing negative emotions to flow. If your fear of feeling negative emotions, sometimes we're afraid of the emotions that we're going to feel. But if your fear of feeling negative emotions is causing you to avoid them, don't worry about it. You are not alone. People are afraid to feel negative emotions. A lot of times, people are more afraid of the emotion than they are the situation that caused the emotion. Does that make sense? A lot of times, people are more afraid of the fear and the anger and the disappointment and the sadness. They are more afraid of the emotion than they are afraid of the situation that caused the emotion. Because I'll deal with the situation, but I don't want to deal with the emotion that it is invoking. I don't want to deal with the emotion that is causing. I'm more afraid of this emotion than I am of the situation, because dealing with the emotion makes me look weak. Dealing with the emotion makes me look vulnerable. Dealing with the emotion makes me look open and exposed. So I don't want to deal with the emotion. It's okay. I'll deal with the situation. I don't want to deal with the emotion. But allow those emotions to flow. Because rather than people feeling them, you all, let me just deal with this for just a moment and I'll get out of here. Rather than just feeling these emotions, people try to shut them out. And that can disrupt and interfere with your ability of letting things go. That can interfere with your ability of moving beyond. That can interfere with your ability of letting go and stepping away from. That can interfere with your ability of handling the past and moving beyond the past, trying to shut down your emotions. Emotions are like the waves in the ocean. Emotions are like the waves in the river and the creek. Emotions are like that. They come in and they'll knock you down. And you're trying to fight them when they're going to happen, when they're going to come. Let them flow out of you. Learn how to let emotions flow. It might mean mental health intervention. It might mean seeing an expert. But guess what? At least it will mean that you're not stuck. At least it will mean that you're not trapped. Learn how to let emotions flow. And then I got to share this one. I got to get out of here because I feel so compelled to share this one, y'all. And then I have to go. If we're talking about moving beyond the past, let me get to this one. Accept the fact that other people, let me sit up. And we'll go on this note. If we're talking about how to move beyond the past, accept the fact that the other person and other people may never apologize. Lots of times we're sitting around expecting, looking for, hoping for, praying for, wishing for an apology. You free yourself. As I conclude, that is my offering this evening, the ability, the power to accept the fact that other people will not always apologize. Waiting for an apology from the other person who hurt you will slow your process down. The process of moving beyond and letting go, sitting around waiting for, hoping for, wishing for an apology from another person will hold you down, and it will keep you captured and imprisoned and in bondage to that person. If you are experiencing hurt and pain and any of those other emotions, it's important you take care of your own healing, which may mean accepting the fact that the person who hurt you is not going to apologize. I just had to offer that one before I got up out of here this evening, you all. Thank you so much. I may begin our next conversation with this note because some of us have to really learn how to deal with this. We're talking about how to move beyond the past. Listen, thank you all for these 1800 seconds. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of wherever you are. Thank you for inviting me into your space. I appreciate it. Let's keep building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Let's stay safe. Let's stay sane. Keep your heads up. Keep your hopes up. Know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Hey, y'all go and tell somebody else that we're here every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 o'clock for about 1800 seconds. Tell them to come on and let's talk to Cutler. Make sure that y'all have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you all the next time we are together. Good night, everybody. See you next time.